Um, Thank you. Uh, just a moment to confirm. Thank you so much, Jiyoon, for the beautiful words and the very kind introduction. Um, yeah, I'm incredibly grateful and humble to be able to talk about the Dhamma. It is something that I hold in a very, it's very important for my life. I practice daily. Meditation is essential to who I am, and also the Dhamma. And it's a great pleasure to always to be able to speak about the Dhamma. Um, at the same time, I need to say that I don't feel qualified to give a Dhamma talk. Um, I am not a monastic. I am just a layperson. I don't have any special attainment, any special qualification in giving the Dhamma. And I just hope that all the Buddhas, all the enlightened beings are here with me and helping me provide correct speech. Uh, and if there is any merit coming from this Dhamma talk, I just wish that it will be shared with everyone, with all beings. Um, the topic that I've chosen to talk about today is the topic of compassion. Uh, I've chosen this topic because it is something that I see as a great challenge in my own life. By profession, I am an academic. I use my brain for my work, uh, and I believe that I should be able to open my heart as well. Um, Having an open heart as well as an open mind is absolutely essential. So I believe that the practice of compassion can help us open our hearts to the world, open our hearts to others, and it is also something that is absolutely essential in Buddhist practice. Um, so why is that? Why is compassion so important in Buddhism? Why is compassion so important to cultivate for all yogis, for all people who are on the path? Um, in Buddhism, as well as in all the other traditions dedicated to helping us reach liberation, we have an understanding that our perception of life is not true, is not real. In Buddhism, we call this dukkha, that life is suffering, life is unsatisfactory, life is transitory. And many people have struggled with the translation of dukkha into suffering. Some disagree with it, but it is the case that life is transitory, and by the fact that we try to grasp, to attach ourselves to things that are transitory, we produce pain uh, for ourselves. We produce pain in our lives. So the greatest delusion is um, the delusion of the self, right? We have this, we walk around thinking that there is an I, that we are this I. Um, this is a complete delusion, um, because you can check very quickly if you just meditate for even 20 minutes. You can start asking this question: Who am I? And then you will, begin to explore your memories. You will begin to explore, perhaps, think back to your name, to your identity card, to your passport, and you will find that this I is none of those things. You cannot find like a center for who that I is. It's something that runs through all those things, that it's not something you can grasp. Trying to find the I is almost like trying to hold water in the palms of your hands and walking a mile with that water inside in the palms of your hand, and you will quickly find that water will, you will drop that water. It will dissipate. Your palms might be wet, but there is no water in your hands, right? So we really falsely attach to that idea of the I. So compassion is a practice that puts our minds, like changes our focus from this sentiment of I, this false feeling of I, to the other, right? So the definition of compassion is to care, to place all your focus, all your attention, all your giving into the other, right? Into the others. And these others might be other people, it might be the animals around you, the plants, and the world itself, right? And by doing that, you minimize, you reduce that attachment to that false sense of I, right? So that is why the practice of compassion is so essential in Buddhism. Now, today I'm going to talk about both the compassionate action and meditation as much as I can in the time that I have. And I just want to clarify some of the questions that I myself have been struggling with and studying up on, consulting the Buddhist literature and some of the other literature related to yoga. So I want to talk about compassionate action, right? So how to practice compassionate action. So of course, we all come to the cushion because we find some sort of relief. We find some sort of solace, and perhaps we find relaxation in this activity. That's why we come and meditate and sit. But meditation does not begin and does not end with us sitting on the cushion. It is something that you can practice always. And it is encouraged for all yogis to cultivate mindfulness and concentration always in their lives. And it is always helpful to have a question, to work with a question when you practice outside of the Dhamma hall. When you stand up from your cushion and walk, it is always helpful to work with a question. So for compassionate action, the question is, how can I help? Or how can I be of service, right? And as you're walking through life, as you're driving or doing your daily activities, going to work, from time to time, just have this check, right? How can I help? How can I be of service? Just ask yourself the question. And this works almost like in the same way that if you try to practice lucid dreaming, right? You have these reality checks where you check whether you're dreaming or not in the awakened state, and then you wake up in your dream state. So with this question functions in the same way. You have to do these compassion checks as you walk through life. So you ask the question, how can I help? How can I be of service, right? And you try to see, so that kind of produces mindfulness, right? You are in the moment when you ask that question, right? So of course, it is not enough to practice that mindfulness when it comes to compassion. You also need to help others, right? To have an open heart towards doing action for the benefit of others. So what does this mean exactly? So how can you do that? Should you just walk around, and ask everybody, how can I help you? What can I do for you? Is that the appropriate way of doing it? Not quite. It is also important to have some sort of mindfulness about when you can open yourself to helping others and when not. And and also the very important question, how to do it, right? So I have a story to share about sort of resolving those two questions. About Zen Master Seung Sahn, who is my guru. Well, I've never met him in person, but he is the founder of the School of Zen, where I took my vows. Zen Master Seung Sahn, apparently he was, a recognized Zen master. He achieved a level of enlightenment that was recognized when he was already very young. It's very rare for Zen masters to attain such a level at such a young age. He was in his late 20s, and with that achievement, he also received this calling to spread Zen around the world, Korean Zen. And he went to the United States, and he first worked in a laundromat, and then people just came to him, like as it happens with these sort of enlightened beings. They just attract the right people, and the things happen around them. So he started many centers in the United States, in Cambridge, in Providence, Rhode Island. And towards the end of his life, he was in Los Angeles. He was trying to start something there. And he was also struggling with health issues, and he tried to exercise. And of course, as a Zen master, you cannot go to the gym, So he just went around and tried to walk, on the street, and walk with his sangha, with his disciples. And while he was walking on the street in Los Angeles, he met a beggar, a homeless person who was begging for money, and this person asked him for money. And of course the Zen master does not carry money around with him, so the Zen master asked somebody, a disciple, to give this man some money. So that disciple gave the man some money, and the Zen master Seung Sahn kept on walking on the street. Right now, the second day he also went around there, right, and he met the same man, the same beggar, and the beggar also asked him for money again. Right, and this time the Zen master just stood in front of him, looked him in the eye, and he shouted, "Get a job!" And you can imagine that the Zen master has this like powerful voice. Zen masters shout, right? They have this like very powerful voice, and he shouted at this man, "Get a job!" So the question is, like, why did he do that, right? Like, why? In the first instance, he gave this man money, and in the second instance, he shouted, "Get a job!" Right? So obviously, it doesn't sound like very compassionate to do that, right? At least, to shout at somebody, when they're on the street and so on. So, why did he do that? Well, the Zen master applied skillful means, right? So, he applied correct compassion, correct action in both cases, right? So when somebody is in need, you do want to help them, you do want to provide what they need, but you don't want them to form an attachment to your help, right? You want them to be free to help themselves, right? So that is the correct way to act compassion, to enact compassion in your lives. And it is very important when you have an open heart, when you have a kind heart, and you go out and help people, to know that you shouldn't enslave yourself to, you shouldn't enslave your body, your mind to other people's selves, right? So you want a situation where you not only diminish that false sense of self, so that false sense of I, you also want other people to have a lesser sense of I, right? So you cannot enslave yourself to somebody. That this sometimes happens in all sorts of sects and cults. That people join and then they give all their body, all their lives to this thing and to this person, right? But ultimately, what happens is you just boost the sense of I of another person, right? So that is not something that is it's really helpful. So alongside this question, how can I help, you also have to have a mindfulness of skillful means, right? How can I help? in this situation, this person. And what really helps alongside this question is also to consider what type of people there are, right, in the world, right? Now, the best guide that I myself found to that question is the Yogasutra of Patanjali, and the Yogasutra talks about the existence of 4 types of people in the world, right? 4 types of people: the happy, the unhappy, the virtuous, and the wicked, right? And the Yogasutra, in one of the sutras, sutras 33, very short, very concise, recommends that in order for us to keep a calm mind, you have to know these 4 types of people and to behave correctly, right? For each type, right? So, what is the correct behavior? Well, you should definitely be friendly to the happy, right? You should associate yourself with happy people, with content people, people who are content, who have a positive outlook towards life, right? That will help you. You should also be friendly to the virtuous, right? And the virtuous these are people who are already more accomplished than you, right? People who have a greater degree of attainment in life, greater degree of attainment in the Dhamma, greater stability in the Dhamma than you. So you should definitely be friendly to them, associate yourselves with them, and also be able to receive from them, from the virtuous, right? Now, for wicked people, these people should be avoided. This is what the Yoga Sutra recommends, right? You should not try to help wicked people. You should not try to be open, to have an open heart towards them. You should just avoid them. Just walk away, walk around them. Now, one of the commentaries on the Yoga Sutra has this story to explain this particular point. It sounds mean, it doesn't sound very enlightened to avoid somebody. But this is the story that I've read in one of the commentaries. So there was this sparrow, on a tree, and it was raining. There also was a monkey nearby, right? And the sparrow, of course, sparrows build very intricate nests, very beautiful homes for themselves, right? And it was raining, and the sparrow was very safe in its nest. It was protected, and the monkey was looking at this situation, and the monkey was a bit jealous because it was raining, and the monkey was drenched, right? And so the sparrow saw the monkey and tried to. The sparrow had a kind heart and tried to help the monkey, tried to give some good advice, right, to the monkey. And the sparrow said, "Monkey, you are so blessed to have 5 fingers. You have a very good mind. You can also build yourself a house here in this tree, right? You can also build yourself a nest here, just like me, right? I can share the blueprints with you." And the monkey, when listening to this, got very upset, very angry, and said to the sparrow, "How can you puny little thing, talk to me like that? I cannot accept, I cannot tolerate this. You are just a small animal," and destroyed the nest of the sparrow, right? And they both sat then in the rain, right, drenched in the rain. So the Yoga Sutra recommends that we should avoid wicked people, because wicked people are not ready to accept our kindness, our compassion. You should not make them your enemy. You should not give them any advice. They will come to a point in their lives, based on their karmas. They will reach a point when they will be open to receiving help, to receiving compassion from others. But until that point comes, you should just avoid them, so that you keep a calm mind, so that you can focus your compassion where it's needed. And the compassion is needed especially in your attitude towards the unhappy, right? So the 4 kinds of people are the happy, the unhappy, the virtuous, and the wicked. So the unhappy people are those who are destitute, who need support, who need help. And this might be somebody who just passes through a moment of unhappiness and instability in life. And these are the people that we should focus our compassion on, right? So when it comes to the practice of compassion, it is very important to be mindful always, to always work with this question, to do this compassion check. How can I help? How can I be of service? And also to know the 4 types of people that you might encounter, and to know exactly when to apply your compassion and how to do it without boosting anybody else's sense of self, as well as not boosting your own sense of self, right? Now, I want to close this Dhamma talk by reading some of the best writing that I've encountered on compassion, which is The Heart of Compassion by Gyaltse Tokme, a Buddhist Tibetan monk, a venerated master in the Tibetan tradition, considered to be one of the incarnations of Avalokiteshvara. So I'm just going to read some of these verses on compassion. They're very meaningful, and perhaps after that we can recite together the 4 great vows, and then we can continue our conversation. So let me just read. The Buddha taught that the unendurable suffering of the lower realms is the fruit of unvirtuous action. Therefore, to never act unvirtuously, even at the cost of one's life, is the practice of a bodhisattva. Like dew on grass, the delights of the 3 worlds, by the very nature, evaporate in an instant. To strive for the supreme level of liberation, which never changes, is the practice of a bodhisattva. If all mothers who have loved me since beginningless time are suffering, what is the use of my own happiness? So with the aim of liberating limitless sentient beings, to set my mind on enlightenment is the practice of a bodhisattva. All suffering, without exception, rises from desiring happiness for oneself, while perfect Buddhahood is born from the thought of benefiting others. Therefore, to really exchange my own happiness for the suffering of others is the practice of a bodhisattva. If someone, driven by great desire, seizes all my wealth, or induces others to do so, to dedicate to him my body and my possession, and past, present, and future merit, is the practice of a bodhisattva. If in return for not the slightest wrong of mine, someone were to cut off even my very head, through the power of compassion, to take all his negative actions upon myself, is the practice of a bodhisattva. Even if someone says all sorts of derogatory things about me and proclaims them throughout the universe, in return, out of loving kindness, to extol that person's qualities is the practice of a bodhisattva. Even if in the midst of a large gathering someone exposes my hidden faults with insulting language, to bow to him respectfully, regarding him as a spiritual friend, is the practice of a bodhisattva. Even if one I've lovingly cared for, like my own child, regards me as an enemy, to love him even more, as a mother loves a sick child, is the practice of a bodhisattva. So these are just a few of the verses from the Heart of Compassion, and I would encourage you to read all of them. They're very beautiful and very helpful towards keeping that mindfulness in daily life. And now I would like us all to read, to recite the four great vows. Very important in Mahayana tradition. So I'll just speak them out verse by verse, and you should recite them after me, right? Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are infinite. We vow to cut through them all.
Delusions are infinite. We vow to cut through them.
The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all.
The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all.
The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. Thank you so much.